Hello! Wow, that surprised me every time. It is so quick to switch over to the actual video feed, but here we are. Welcome to yet another stream on the Scantech iReal 2E. This guy, which was which words do I use this? Which words do I use for this? Which was not a huge success in the initial live stream that we did last time. So, what happened last time? Basically, there were a couple of issues with this setup. So first of all, let me just recap what happened last time. Hardware specs weren't clear. So I tried to install it on an 8GB laptop. Requirements are 8GB of RAM. It didn't work because it didn't have 8 gigs of RAM. It was using like 128 gigs for the integrated graphics, and that was making the software unhappy. So that was the first thing. Then I installed it on my Threadripper system, 1070 Ti, 16 or 32 gigs of RAM, 32 I think. Huge system, and the software didn't work. The software didn't let me finish the calibration, and it crashed whenever I hit settings. So really, I could only use the default scanning mode, and that worked I mean, it just didn't work. Like, I did not get a single successful scan out of it. So after that, Scantech, they reached out and they were like, hey, yeah, Tom, we're not happy about this. And I was going to give them every chance that I could. So they're like, hey, can we have a phone call? We want to make sure that the software works, and until we get that figured out, can you please take the previous stream offline? So that stream has been taken offline. It was unlisted until just now. So yeah, fire extinguisher. That was unlisted until just now because I felt like there was so much that had gone wrong that it maybe left an incomplete impression of the product. So since then, they sent me the software version 3.1. What I originally used was 3.0. And on that call, they walked me through the calibration. We did a couple of test scans, and they were very adamant about the stuff that I should not attempt to scan. So basically, at this point, we know that the software works. We know that we can do the testing objects now. We know that we can do the calibration, and we know that I can configure the scans mode, and I can set up the scanning system as we want, because you can either do no markers, just basically photogrammetry, I guess, though there is some information on how offset these 3 cameras are. And you can do the marker-based mode, which is this scene, kind of just to try that out, where you stick a bunch of these reflective markers on there, or retro-reflective, and the scanner picks those up, and it uses only the markers for orientation. So we're going to try that out. We're going to see if that works any better. So to be honest, I was struggling to find stuff that I could scan, because they were like, okay, you shouldn't scan dark stuff. You shouldn't scan stuff that has no texture or repeating texture. Actually, I was trying to just weave it over a keyboard during the call we had, and it was just like, and the keyboard was like 2 meters long because it was registering each key as a feature, and it was like, oh yeah, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, and it just slid off. So repeating patterns, don't use that. You can't do anything that is too small. So the scans that I attempted on the original stream, this thing is like 12 centimeters tall or something, too small. They're saying use something that is at least 20 or 30 centimeters tall, and don't just do small stuff. So yeah, I was struggling to find stuff that I could scan. Also, they said like, hey, the 3D printer, yeah, use it with the marker mode. I did put the markers on there, and I can see them reflecting. You probably can't. But yeah, there are some on here with the Mark III. They said like, hey, you really need to set it into marker mode, but because the software was buggy, I couldn't actually set it into marker mode. So today we'll do that. We'll try all that. So I've got a couple of scenes, and we're gonna try again. We're just gonna see how far we get. What we're gonna scan is this scene right here. That's like, I consider this easy. So there are a couple markers on here. They're saying 5 to 8 centimeters should be the distance between markers. That's like, some of these are further apart, but I'm gonna add more. But this is gonna be the demo for marker-based scanning. And I can switch it into just feature-based scanning without markers, and we can see how it would turn out if you didn't put markers on this. There is some distinct lettering on here, and it can use a table and screwdriver and the electric screwdriver as a reference. It should be able to do that. So we can see which one of these works. They said, okay, this doesn't have enough features, though I'm thinking like this should have enough distinct, unique features. It should pick it up, but we'll see. We'll try it both ways. Then what they said was like, this is the thing that really it is made for, is objects or people. So I've got this helper. What is she called? Ushi. Yeah, that's what we're calling her. This is my mom's mannequin that she sometimes uses for like, ooh, that is way blown out. That she sometimes uses for just photography mock-ups, just as like a lighting model essentially. We're gonna put some hair on her. I do have a wig and I do have the cheapo tank top just to not get demonetized. We are gonna put some hair on her. So that's this. Wow, that's pretty good. So this is gonna go on her, so we can see how this thing deals with hair, because they are explicitly saying this is for, that actually kind of suits me, to be honest. They're explicitly saying this is like for the renters next door just walked by and looked in the window and they were like, hey, what is going on there? But yeah, they're explicitly saying this is for people and for that sort of stuff. So we're going to be scanning the mannequin. And I do have some fine details on here, though. I've got this necklace that is kind of shiny, kind of small. You probably can't see that very well, but we're going to see how much of that it picks up. Now that's sliding around quite a bit, but yeah, we're going to try that with just the non-markered mode, because if you're going to be scanning people, you will probably not be putting markers over them. And then well, I'm going to try the 3D printer again. I'm going to put more markers on it just to see if that works. And then the two big things that I want to try today is my car. So you've probably seen the tweet right over there. So that's the gate. Right there, I've made some space where I can pull my car in. And the two applications that they are actually showing off is, first of all, you can scan the exterior of a car if you put the stickers on it. If you put it if you fill it, I keep hitting the wrong one. If you just completely plaster it with these reflective stickers. And I thought that would be really cool. It supposedly can do like a 4-meter big scene in one go. But the thing with these stickers is you put them on, and then what do you do? Like, yeah, you can kind of get them off again. But if I fill up my entire car's sidewall with these stickers, and I put one every 8 centimeters, let's say, that's going to be a couple hundred stickers. So it's probably going to be like 5 hours to get all of these stickers off again, and the paint job or the paint is going to be completely screwed by the end of that. So I will not be scanning my car. They do have a nice demo where they show, hey, you can actually do it, but that's probably not going to be something I'll attempt today. I just don't feel like that. But what I can try and what I will try, let me see if I can still find the photo here. Yeah, we did build a new piece. Hold on. Okay, I know what's on. Okay, so thank you, chat. Muted. Thank you all of you who pointed that out. My bad. I'm sorry. So what they're showing off basically as a best case scenario is this thing where you have a huge wall art piece or a decorative piece where you have lots of 3D texture. It doesn't have any color features. I don't think it uses color to register, but it is very unique. So like this bit back here is way different from this bit back here. That bit is, so that there are no repeating patterns on this. That's what I'm saying. And it is very textured. So basically, the software should be able to register where you're pointing the scanner at any point, just by looking at the texture, and it should be able to stitch it back onto what it just saw. So that is like, this is, from what I understand, this is their best case scenario. Though, to be honest, I literally don't have anything that I could bring in here and scan. There are a couple of fountains like in the area that I could drive to, and but then I'd need a laptop that that would actually run the scanner software, which I don't have. So I just cannot scan anything like this. Everything that I have is either very technical, very smooth, has repetitive patterns, which they're all saying you cannot do or you should not do. However, the other thing that they're showing off is this. So this is one of their, why is this Windows in German even? This is one of their actual show pieces where they're saying, hey, you can scan a car's interior. And even though this is shown off everywhere on Scantech's site and on the reseller sites and all that, and by the way, this is the exact scanner that I have. This is the 2E. The guys from Scantech were like, hey, yeah, you might not actually want to do that. This is, we're not, like, we're showing this off, but you shouldn't actually do this because this is too dark. So I'm like, why are you showing it off then? So we're gonna try that. So like I said, I'm gonna be able to pull my car in here. I'm gonna do the interior. I have specifically not cleaned it, so it is very dusty inside. So hopefully that's gonna give it some extra detail to register to, but I'm gonna try and scan my car's interior, which I think is a very real world application. They've shown me like, hey, you can adjust the brightness cutoff or the noise reduction essentially, where very dark parts, it filters out all the detail and it doesn't have anything to register to. But you can turn that down, and I do have some good lighting in here, and the scanner has some lighting. So with them showing this off, I really hope it is going to work. If it doesn't, I mean, I've literally given it every chance I can. So yeah, the other thing that I did, just again, to give it every chance that I can, I actually built a PC for this. So yeah, sure, my streaming laptop was kind of getting old. It was like an 8250 i5 integrated graphics, so not a very high-end laptop. But we now have, where are we at? A Ryzen 5 5500, we have 16 gigs of RAM, we have an NVIDIA GeForce 1660 Super, we have a 250, used to be 250 gig SSD, RAM's running at, how fast are you running? 3200. This is, this isn't a crazy PC, but this is a pretty darn decent PC now. So this should be able to handle it. However, the first thing that the software complained about was like, hey, I don't have enough RAM, you need at least 4 gigs. Turns out the lingo is kind of iffy and you need at least 4 gigs of swap. So I gave it like 64 gigs of swap just to make the software happy. So yeah, Mark R, is that training? I guess so. The original plan was to have the guys from Scantech in a stream and kind of walk through all this together and have you be part of that experience. But there's a pretty big language barrier that would make it pretty hard to watch. So yeah, we walked through everything. We just made sure it works. They gave me some tips on scanning distance. They were like, hey, you know, even though our software has a green bar where it's like, hey, you're too close, you're too far, you actually have to be way further apart than way further away than that. So we're gonna see. All right. Anything I'm missing? Anything that is still out of whack? I don't think so. So let's go ahead and boot up the software and get going here. So iReal 3D 2022. Unknown publisher, yeah, sure. This is a new splash screen, I believe. Welcome to iReal 3D. So device disconnected, that's because it does not have power. It is not plugged in. And this is a keyed connector, so I can only plug this in one way. There we go. Getting the fan and the blue light. And getting blue flashes. I guess I'll just restart the software here. Oh, no, green, red, green. Device connected. Okay, we're good. We're good. So our air conditioning is at 42%, our SD card is at 15%, and we have 0.0 hexes. So when I opened up the software originally, this menu did not work. Immediately crashed the software. So actually, we have a couple different scanning modes. We have the multicolor dash, we have the single mode for the color M. So I guess multicolor, flashing, open, close. Yeah, we're going to leave the flashing open. Aligning feature, texture, marker, mixed. So this is the actual interesting one. So you can do feature, which is geometry. You can do texture. So apparently it does do the actual, well, texture, the actual colors of your objects. Marker, where it only uses the markers, and then mixed, where it uses kind of everything, but I tried mixed and it gets really confused real quickly. So we're going to try the, so you can set up custom modes. This is not a default mode. You have to go add, you add a custom mode. You say multicolor, light enabled, and we only do marker, object, and we do standard mode. Resolution 0.7, that is fine-ish. There are a couple more settings that you can adjust, but this is all okay. So save, modify the model successfully. Yeah, so we're doing multicolor with the light. We're using the markers. We're doing object at standard size. Save, yeah, just close. You sure quit creating, yeah, I'm not creating a new mode. I've already created one. I could show you the calibration again. But the thing is, the calibration is literally just the same thing we did last time, but this time it completes. So there's a finish screen, and that's it. So I'm not going to walk through that. Instead, we're going to go to our custom mode, which is the marker-only scan mode, and I'm going to add a couple extra markers to this scene, because this is not nearly enough. So I want to scan all of this. I'm mostly going to marker up the table. And then I can place stuff on top of it. So as long as we're not covering too much of or too many of the markers, I should now just be able to place anything on the table, and it should have the markers as a reference. And maybe if I feel like it, we can do some of these smaller objects. There is a small scan mode, so we can try that too. Of course, during a scan, this stuff should not wobble around. This should all be fairly fixed, fairly stuck in place. And of course, while I scan, I'm not going to be touching this anymore, and it's going to stay set pretty, whoops, no, this one's kinked. It should stay in place pretty well. So a couple more markers in the table. Apparently, you also can't have too many markers. So if you just leave one of these sheets as a hole in the scene, they said it's also not going to work because it gets confused, apparently. So this is what I'm saying. If you do this to the entire sidewall of a car, you're going to have a lot of stickers to place, and you're going to have a lot of stickers to remove afterwards. So really, I don't want to do that sort of work during the stream. Like, it would take me probably an hour to place all the markers, and it would take me a couple hours to remove them all again. So yeah, just not something I particularly look forward to. I guess if you do have to scan a car, if you do have to do that for a job, like, yeah, that's just part of the process, but it is not a very time efficient process. I mean, if the result's good, and that's all right. There is also a scan quality index, and you can add 2 scans once you've completed something and you see, hey, this one area might not be totally good yet. Then you can come back in and scan stuff again, and it should improve the quality. So this is what we have. Oh, B, there we go. This is what we have. This is all stickered up. There is one of the Bosch Go's, which has some, fine-ish details. Has some patterning here, so I don't think that's going to pick up. But you can see right there, that has like a knurled surface kind of. But it has some detail that should be interesting. Then this guy is flat and reflective. And over here, screwdriver, I'm going to add another one. Where's something shiny? Let's add some tweezers just to mix it up and just to see what we can scan with this. All right. Press the scanner button to scan the marked points. So how the marker scan mode works is you actually go through a couple times. You first go in and you index all the markers. So right now it is not picking up any geometry yet. It is just showing you which markers it can see, and it indexes the positions of those. And whoops, that's too close. And once you've indexed those, it will allow you to actually scan and create some geometry. So that should be good. Press the scanner button to scan the marked point. Scan the markers. Okay, so that was the preview. Oh, that's apparently too far away. That was the preview. There we go. Now we get a real point cloud of all the stuff that is in view. I wish there was like a more accurate, like a video feed from the scanner. Too far. All right, that should have all the markers indexed. And it beeps when it loses tracking. That's the good thing about the continue scanning. Scanner markers, yeah, so that should be all right. Scanner should now be indexed, and we can hit OK. So now we scan the actual geometry. Now we scan the actual geometry and we create something that is scanned and not just a cloud of the markers. So there we go. Immediately we get some detail and we get the color scan. So it is kind of chugging, but the good thing with the markers is if it loses tracking, if it ever loses tracking, it does not add garbage data. With the feature detect mode, it will just completely screw up your scan, and you have to undo. So there you go. It's actually scanning the table as well. That's good. Why are you chugging? So GPU seems fine. GPU is not doing anything. Memory is fine. CPU is fine. But we do get some serious chug going on. And it is also not seeing the black top of the fire extinguisher here at all. So this area here is completely missing from the scan. There is a, like I said, there is a noise reduction setting that allows you to do darker stuff, where it's not actually going to delete that from your scan. Come on. Keep tracking. Where it doesn't delete that from the scan. but I'm not seeing that right now. Let me hit the scanner button. There we go. So I think that is in here somewhere. Data quality, that's that. Black hair, black material hair scanning enhancement mode. Okay, so that's, there is also the denoising setting. So I'm going to turn that down. They said to turn it down to 0.2. I don't know why it's set to something else then. Turn that down and the black enhance. So let's try that again. So you can just always add by pressing the button. And chug, chug, chug. Is the hardware too specialized to be something open sourced? So this is not a laser scanner. This is everything but a laser scanner. I don't think this is even structured light. This is literally just 3 cameras with different LEDs attached to them. So it kind of does photogrammetry more or less. Oh, and this is turning off. And what's going on here? Something's sparking. PC, hello? Hello, PC? Oh, that's my bad. Oh, God. Power cord pulled out. Power cord pulled out of the system. Okay, that is embarrassing. It's the sparky noise. So, new PC, full RGB fans and stuff, but pulled out the power cord. Damn it. Okay, not a fault of the scanner. That one's on me. You guys seeing my pin? I'm not showing you my pin. All right. So maybe to clear up the scanner, that's what it is. So you get 3 cameras. I believe one of these is only, yeah, one of these is the color camera. That's the one down there that has the white LEDs. And then you have a bunch that are both with some color LEDs and with some infrared LEDs. And these are monochrome. Monochrome cameras only, though I don't know what this is. This looks like it is grid projectors, so this might be structured light with the infrared cameras. Don't know. I had it right last time, but I'll have to actually look that up again. All right, so let's do this again. Let's do this. Oh, it does do recovery. That's cool. Oh, and it does a fast forward of your scan data. That's actually pretty nice. That's actually pretty nice. Okay. So I think this is actually pretty much all the scanning that we can do, because it is not picking up any more geometry. What's happening? It's not actually picking up any more geometry at the top of the fire extinguisher here. Maybe you can do a bit more on the Bosch tool, on the Bosch Go. So let's do that. So I can just click the scanner button, and it's going to add to our scan. So yeah, okay. So the sides of the Bosch Go are dark. This is a dark rubber, basically. We do get some points popping up here, but let's see. Yeah, it does add some detail. It does add some detail here. So let's see if it saves that. Yeah, so denoising, turn that down and enable the dark scan mode, or dark object mode. And let's try again. Are we adding more data? Come on, yeah, kinda. So of course, angles that are obscured, that are covered up by other objects, you're not going to be able to get those at all. But that is something that's not specific to this very scanner. This is just 3D scanner basics, essentially. So the somewhat dark handle, I don't think this is going to show up. Maybe if you turn down the, what are you? Turn down the denoising even more. Let's try that. Let's see if that picks up anything. It's trying, but it's not actually doing it. All right, so this is what we get. Yeah, it did add some detail here. It did add some detail. I guess the screwdriver we can pick up from this other angle just a bit more to make sure we get maximum exposure from this side. Come on. So I'm trying to get it from this flat angle here. Eric, the majority of the magic is in fact the software. The hardware is trivial. Like it is a bunch of cameras. Essentially, that's it. But that has been the conundrum of 3D scanners. Oops, we're rolling the fire extinguisher. That is the conundrum of 3D scanners just in general. Okay, so. All right, it looks like I moved the fire extinguisher. There is a handy feature where you can actually undo, where you can just roll back. So for example, here we have this garbage data on the scanner. You can just roll back, delete the stuff that is tracked incorrectly, and it's going to remove it. There you go, and then I hit delete. Basically, yeah, there's still some left. There's still some floaty stuff left. So this is how well it does with the marker scan mode. That's what you get. You can process it into a mesh, though there is some garbage data, which again might be because I moved the fire extinguisher that was rolling around. But you can then process that into a mesh and export it as whatever format you want. So this is still the point cloud. Yeah, you can of course rework it. Let's just hit mesh. Yeah, there is some tracking issue going on here for sure. Yeah, and interestingly, that's it didn't fix this hole and this one, but what we saw a second ago was that wherever a marker is, it does not actually have any geometry that it can create. Because obviously the marker is black on the outside, it has a bright reflective centering, so it is mostly blown out. Yep. Let's do a new scan with with mixed, should we do markers? Let's try texture alignment. I want to see how well that works, because we do have a table that has, keep hitting them, I should just switch these. I do have a table which has some texture. These things also have some color texture. So this, I assume this should be able to at least reference something. So let me see how well that works. And after that, we're going to move on to the mannequin, and we're going to do the person-optimized scan mode, essentially. Multicolor with the light, we're going to align by texture. We're scanning an object, and we're doing standard size. What if we turn down the resolution to like the finest degree? Because the resolution was quite coarse on the Yes. The resolution was quite coarse on the previous scan. So let's do that again. We are on the texture alignment, and it is still showing up the markers in the top right corner as like the camera feed preview, but it is not showing them in the actual scan preview. So you can, close one. You can see it is tracking nicely for the most part. But there is, it looks like there is a lot of noise in the scanner data. If you look at the, actually just the green area, which is what it is scanning right now, and we're gone. We're back. We're back, and it did not add any garbage data. That's cool. No. What is that shadow? Is that the handle of the fire extinguisher? I think it is, yeah. Okay, so you can kind of see it is losing tracking on the table if you go on too flat of an angle, and it is adding quite a bit of noise. But we do need to look onto the underside and onto the sides of our objects too, otherwise we just don't have anything. And what is that? We do already have, if I pause this, yeah, we do already have a double image right there. I guess the markers are helping, because when I initially tried this without the markers and used the, well, I guess the feature tracking mode, I didn't really get much in the way of alignment. It was constantly losing its tracking. So it looks like we need to do a bit more on the underside here, but that's a very shallow angle. And I'm hoping it's going to pick up some detail there. It should be able to see in there pretty well. I can see in there pretty well. Come on. And it's quite hard to pick the right distance, because the max distance is like 600 millimeters. And if you're closer than like 400 millimeters, it just loses tracking. So there is about this much in leeway you have, and that also includes like the fact that your scene has depth. So if you hold it like this, it's fine, but if you hold it like that, it's not fine, because now your like center distance is way further away. So that looks better, but we also got a tracking error over here. So if we hit enter here, I just want to see what it does with the Bosch Go, whether it actually picks up any of the detail. It doesn't look like it in the preview. Whether it picks up any detail of the surface here, because there is quite a bit of fine detail that it maybe could pick up. Part-time Ronin, will a darker room help? I don't think so. So the lights in here are quite bright, so they overpower the room light. And according to Scantech, the studio lighting in here, the studio lighting in here shouldn't be an issue. This is, how much this is? Probably not even 1,000 lux. So not super bright. It also supports a scan mode where it doesn't use the built-in lights at all, and it just relies on ambient light. So 16 gigs of RAM is insufficient memory, and it's using 4 gigs, so it's reducing the resolution, because we only have 10 gigs of free RAM. So let's see how much of that it actually uses. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but we'll see. Maybe it's going to bump up. So yeah, to run this scanner, you need. Ooh, it's picking up some detail, and I've selected a point already. So to run this thing, you need, oh, that's creating words. Let me start over. To run this thing, you need an NVIDIA graphics card. It will not run with any other hardware, and it needs an NVIDIA graphics card with CUDA support. So this thing has that, obviously. Typically, 3D scanners do provide like a backup processing mode, but yeah. Okay, what do we see? What do we see? That's missing. This screwdriver looks nice and smooth. Is it that smooth in real life? It is not. So in real life, it has some texture to it, some physical texture. And of course, the two different materials. And this is what we got on the highest resolution using texture alignment mode. So just very smooth. And then the Bosch Go, you can read the Bosch. You can see the Bosch logo. That's actually pretty okay. Other scanners, of course, do this better. I know I did bring this up last time. Where did I put it? My Einscan SE. My Einscan SE is going to pick up more detail than that. So it's all right. For a scanner that can do 4 meters, I would consider this fine. All right, dark background too, perhaps. So Eric, what we're doing here is we're actually using the background, the table. They're actually recommending using a textured tablecloth or something with unique texture to help the scanner align, because what we just did is we used the texture of our scan for alignment. So just a uniform dark or bright or whatever background is actually going to hurt the scanning in this case. If you're doing just marker alignment, it's not going to matter at all. Good evening, Daniel. All right, so that's the scan we got. It's all right. That's okay. The only thing I would note here is like the corners and the edges really aren't there. So anything that has poor coverage, and how do you what is best view? Alt. Okay, Alt middle mouse button. Yeah, anything around here is just gone. Even though I tried to get scans from a very flat angle, that is just not there. And it is quite soft, though. There is a surprising amount of detail. Okay, moving on. What are you? Point cloud. Oh yeah, you can switch back to your point cloud view. And then, nope, where is that? Mesh simplify, where you can reduce it. Refine, I guess where it processes it again. What does that do? Let me see. I'm going to let that run, and I'm going to let that refine while I set up our next scene here. So I'm going to stay on the desk. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to get the mannequin. I guess this fire extinguisher is just going to have scanning markers from now on. So the problem with this mannequin is, first of all, the unfortunate best way to grab it is by the neck, which is, I apologize for that. And the other thing is, if you actually want to attach the arms, you have to set it on something about that tall. And I don't think I'm actually going to reach, so we're going to scan an armless mannequin. So yeah, as weird as that's going to look. And the main thing to look for in this one is actually the hair. So how well does it scan hair? They're saying like this sort of, non-uniform texturing, this should be pretty good for the scan. But hair is also going to be a part of a human body scan if you want to do that. All right, so I could scan myself, but I don't think I'm going to be holding nearly as still as I should. Manual hole filling, yeah, fill all those holes. Of course, the markers, we did not use those, so it didn't automatically patch these up in this case. Yeah, this is where you can get the data color, data quality, what are they calling it? Data quality color map, right? So you kind of saw that in the finished result. The top surface here is pretty good. And then underneath here, there is some, no, there isn't any data here. And you can use this kind of as a reference to see like which areas you kind of need to focus on and scan more of. But for now, let's start a new project with the human body scanning model. And this is the pre-optimized setting. And denoising was at 0.3 or something. We don't have anything black here, so this should be what we get. Part-time Ronin DIY, DIY rotating table. The thing with 3D scanners is always they need reference, and they need their reference to stay the same. So if you actually rotate your object without also rotating everything else, you're going to confuse the algorithm. As soon as it tracks anything about your table or about your background, it is going to lose tracking. Unless you use the tracker-only scan mode and you only put trackers on your object. That should work, but otherwise, if you use feature detection as soon as it, or feature or texture detection, as soon as it tracks anything about the background, it's over. Like it's going to lose, it's going to get so confused. Does it support any other methods of tracking, and or could you hack something like a SteamVR Vive tracking puck in there? So not with this hardware. Like this is completely closed source. There is no way you're going to do anything yourself here. However, a SteamVR tracking puck, good call, good suggestion. One of the things that I was hoping this would do and would kind of make use of would be at least an accelerometer. That's like a 20-cent part that you could just put in the scanner itself, and that would kind of do a sanity check for whether where it thinks it's tracking actually matches up with where it can best guess where it physically is. So it just with an accelerometer and a gyro, it can make sense of how you're moving it. And if that doesn't match up with where the tracking algorithm patches in, then it should just reevaluate its situation, basically. It doesn't do that. It would be very easy. It doesn't do that. Yeah, well, that is correct. If you do a rotating table and you have markers on the table and on your scanned object, then of course that is going to confuse it. So we are doing scanning. We do have the hair mode enabled. We do have we do have the standard settings in here. Let's go. Let's just scan this. You didn't see that. Sorry. We do have the hair mode enabled. We do have standard settings, and we are on the human body scanning mode. Okay, there's the hair. And we're close enough. And we're getting dangerously close. Okay, so it is still tracking in the human body mode if you move further away, but it starts beeping at you. I actually prefer this because this just allows you to align so much better. If you have a wider field of view. Okay, yeah, and we do have the quality overlay enabled, so we can pass over areas again that still have a low quality result. Okay, and I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to walk around and do it from the other side. Not a real wig? Well, it is a real wig. So it's not real human hair. It is just regular plastic, but yeah, so it is not happy once I go up to the hair. It's going to be interesting what it does with those areas where the cloth is kind of thin and has a bit of a gap to the skin, whether it actually still detects this cloth or whether it cuts it out. Also down here we have these pleats, whatever, no, not pleats, thin layers of fabric that don't completely cover up the skin underneath. But let's keep scanning here. So from a bit further away, it's going to beep at me. Yeah, but at least it's going to have some tracking and we can get some of the hair. There we go. Okay, that's tracking pretty well. That's good. I'm running out of cord. So the question, of course, is how realistic would this be for actually scanning a person? And we're chugging again. How realistic would this be for scanning a person? How still are they going to be able to hold during the scanning process? And will the software correct for that? Oh, we're losing tracking, it looks like. Yeah. That's exactly what I saw in the first live stream. Whenever it loses tracking, it's just gone. There is no coming back from this. So we're going to need to undo here. Looks like that should be enough. Yeah. Okay, so the hair, of course, for any 3D scanner is tricky, is difficult. But this looks all right. Maybe the arm stumps. And maybe this, what is it? Her right arm stump. So this one. I'm just going to hit it again. And fresh up that scanning data. Yeah, it's a bit too far away, but if I go any closer, it's going to lose tracking. Like that. All right, so that stump is looking better. I think we're good. Let's try. Let's see what we get. Let's see how this turns out. Of course, the hair is a bit far down into the face. Eric, yeah, so the flashing that is being picked up, it is the exact same thing that I'm seeing with my bare eyes. Of course, the cameras, these run on different frame rates and on different shutter speeds. They don't all pick it up equally well. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this necklace, this was something that I was interested in. What is up with this insufficient memory prompt? Like it's not even using any. Let's do fully closed holes because the hair is going to be kind of messy. I mean, I should be able to make some sense of this. Yeah, let's get you the memory view. Might be talking about VRAM. Not really. Okay, so that's what is left of the necklace. I'm gonna move this because we're done scanning. Oh yeah, that was a nice perspective. Yeah, that's what it looks like in the scan, and that's what it looks like IRL. Of course, this is shiny, and this was a bit of a how do you call it? Bit of sand in the engine to see whether that's going to throw it off. It did scan it, but there's just no detail. There's absolutely no detail there, and you can barely make out the chain at all. So it's really not going to pick up that sort of detail. Cloth. Okay, so you get the cloth. Nope. Why do you keep doing that? Cloth. Okay. Okay. So these straps, they do separate. Okay, they do turn into actual straps on the back as well. If we go to do I get a color view? No, we just get that, and you are color mapping. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it looks like it's kind of adding some weird geometry. This, of course, is hard to scan because you can't really look into that gap all too well. And then up front here, yeah, it's just, you can see right here, it's just turning it into a solid block. Though again, we didn't actually see under this. So it's mostly creating a solid chunk of this. Thin surfaces, of course, are hard for scanners. So what I kind of want to do, okay, that's the filling here. Looks a lot better with the texture, of course. So you can see this is an actual object and not a point cloud anymore. What I kind of want to do, and this, yeah, that's nice. What I want to do is compare it to just straight up photogrammetry. So that's, I don't know if that's actually going to work for the card. Should we try the printer? Let me know, chat. Should we try the printer? I'm going to try Polycam because that has been made available on Android, and I did a quick scan before I left for the studio, and it turned out pretty okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and let me go and create a new scan. And basically what you get as far as an interface goes is you literally just get a photo app. You hit plus, it captures a frame, and you just walk around and fill in all the blanks. So I really just kind of want a reference of how much detail that is going to pick up. Polycam, of course, is not free either. It is a paid subscription if you want to use it to its full extent, but you get a couple free scans, you get a free trial, and then it's like $10 a month or something. So, I mean, if you compare it to buying a 3D scanner, yeah, you can use it for quite a couple of scans and pay for them before you break even, but also not a free alternative. But literally no hardware, zero extra hardware that you're buying. I'm going to leave the scanner in, so I'm actually taking photos of the iReal 2E here as well. That's going to stay in the Polycam scan. So just kind of to give you a baseline of what is possible with like no extra hardware. So I'm up to 30 photos. So the scan I did this afternoon was 21 photos. It needs at least 20. And that seemed like it was doing a rather good job for just 20 photos. Basically, photogrammetry, same as with any 3D scanner. You just walk around and you try to get as many different angles as possible. 50 photos, and this does not process locally. So this is 100% dependent on like the Polycam servers working for you. Can you just hold? No, you can't. Hope you're nice. So, right, we have 65 photos. Done. I'm going to say medium detail. Yeah, 4 free photo captures left. Upload in process. Continue with Google. I'm going to use my something went wrong. Wow. Why? Oh no. Okay, gonna have to create an account here real quick. 1 second, please. Email has already been used with Google. Okay, so the Google sign-in doesn't work. Something went wrong. Please try again. Yep. So that is, not great. Okay, Polycam doesn't work. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, what do we do next? Let's try the car interior. Let's pull that in and see if we get any success there with the scan mode in the iReal 2E. One moment, please. I'm going to pull in the car. And we're going to see if we get any success with that. Probably will need to move the lights. Might run this over. Good thing about having a big studio with a gate is you can just do that sort of stuff. Audio might be gone. Okay, that should be good. That should be good. Okay, let me close the gate real quick. And we can get to scanning the interior of this car. So probably gonna need to adjust the cameras here. Whoop. So the A cam. Go something like this. Don't rip any cables out, that would be great. There we go. So A cam right there. So that is the interior. Actually, I can also use the B cam. That is the interior right there. So that has quite a bit of detail to it. And I shall just try to scan that because they are explicitly saying you can scan car interiors. So I'm going to try the cockpit area for the most part. So let's go over here. Yeah. We're going to do a new scan. So we will scan mixed mode, I guess. So mixed mode is, let's do mixed. Okay. Mixed, I guess that should use feature and texture alignment, which this has, both of. We're doing object, we're doing standard because we're not scanning the full, we're not scanning the full car, we're just scanning a part of the car. And resolution 0.7, that should be all right. So let's try this. I'm going to switch between that and that so you kind of get a reference for what I'm doing. But I'm just going to start right there. Oh yeah, I do have to actually move the screen over here so I see what I'm doing. So I kind of have to look backwards over my shoulder, kind of, yeah, that's hard to see actually. Huh. Let's see. So let's just do the screen cap. And I think we've already lost alignment. Yeah, that first scan wasn't very much to go off of, so let's restart this. Same scan mode. Let's go. So let's start here. Ooh. Yeah, so my preview or my view on the scanner in the software is very, very stuttery. So that's what I'm seeing basically. Come on, update. Okay, we're getting a bit of the seat. And we've lost tracking. I will need to remove my keys here. Move smoothly while scanning. Well, I wish the preview was smooth so I'd know whether I'm moving smoothly enough. It's kind of doing it, but it feels a lot like it's struggling. It is picking up some points. Nope. So this is what that looks like. And I'm waiting for the view to update. 1 frame, 2 frames. Kind of doing something. So we're kind of getting somewhere, even though it is black. There we go, it's registered again. Okay, that seems to work a lot better. Interesting. Let's get in here. Okay. Why is that working so well all of a sudden? If I go towards the steering wheel, it doesn't want to work at all. But the seat is working pretty well though. Nope. That's not what that's supposed to look like. That is not what that is supposed to look like. So let's go back here. even more. That should be all right. Yeah. Yeah, it is actually easier to go by the 3D preview than to actually look at what you're doing. But the 3D preview is very, very stuttery. If I scan the door opening first, we're going to have some sort of a reference. Unless we go too far away, we're going to have some sort of a reference for the rest of the scan, hopefully. Up. And there we go. That's the thing that happens if you have something that is just smooth or has kind of the same texture and shape along one axis. It just completely freaks out. So that we're going to need to delete. And let's start again from over here. And we're back on tracking. This cable is too short. There, you can see there's quite a bit of difference in how far away each of the objects are. So for example, the seat is at like 80 centimeters, but the front or the door, what's it called, the door jamb, is much, much closer. So if I try to get the door jamb in view, then the seat is not going to be in view. If I try to get the seat in view, then the door jamb is not going to be in there. Are we still good? Yep. And that down there is a pretty dark corner with the seatbelt buckle. And okay, so the sides here, these are like faux leather, or the leatherette, I guess it's called. So these are a bit too shiny, I guess. So if you maybe turn down the denoising, we can get a better pickup of that. I don't know why this slider is set to like such a high value by default when the low values just work better. Oh, there. Come on, track. Oh, yeah, it's filling in. It is filling in for the most part. It's doing something, it's tracking. Nope. Nope, so as soon as your view shifts like that or tilts like that, you do have to go back and delete it, or otherwise you're going to introduce some garbage data and it's going to make tracking in the future much, much harder. Well, that's looking like it's coming together. The seat actually is scanning very nicely. Let's try and pick up a bit more from the inside. So from inside the car, if we get some more tracking, maybe. There you go. If you move in from the inside, there's the seat belt. Stop chugging. Okay. There's the okay, we need to get it back onto a frame of reference. You were just tracking perfectly a second ago. What's up? There we go. Oh, and we're gone. Let's go back. Let's delete all of this, but I hope there's... Are we gonna... This is garbage data, isn't it? No, it's not. That's actually the rear door. Okay, so that's good. Scan as far away as possible. Yeah, I'm trying, but the problem, like I said, is there is so much geometry at different distances that it very easily loses tracking. So dark area on the side of the seat. It's picking it up. And then right here, there simply isn't any more... Nope. There simply isn't any more space to get the scanner in. So you really have to get a lot closer than, I guess, what the scanner is comfortable at. Try and scan the underside of the seat. That's a tricky one to squeeze into. Yeah, up here it doesn't really pick up anything. So I guess we could keep going here quite a lot longer. It looks like it's actually picking up some stitching here in the geometry. Yeah, and that is actual stitching. I'm going to try and get the steering column complete and get the steering wheel complete at least, because that I feel like is kind of an essential part of a car interior. And at least we need a complete steering wheel. Like black leather, it doesn't really want to pick it up. But we're getting there. So from above, there's the dash, or the iCockpit as Peugeot calls it. Yeah, there's really just not a good angle to get to it. Right, so there is some stuff on the steering wheel, there is some data there. But it is nearly impossible to get any data without getting too close. So yeah, it looks like we introduced some garbage data right there. And that will need to go. Okay. Oh yeah, there is some definite garbage data there as well. But it looks like that is too far back that we can't really remove that. We should have removed that much earlier. Let's see what this gives us as far as geometry goes. So unfortunately, there also isn't a good way to select and delete geometry that is just overlaid onto another bit of geometry. Oops, losing some hair. That's processing. What did I miss in chat? Oops, mouse doesn't work on these markers. Okay. Oh, because I'm using the wrong one for the wrong computer. The environment without stray light is better for scanning. I assume Will is actually from Scantech. I know it's like midnight there, so. Of course, time zones. Right, so this right now is still the point cloud. which looks promising, but of course there are, with a detailed model like this, there are some quite a couple large areas that really don't have any geometry to them at all, and this kind of mishap around the seat, let's see how well that's going to filter out. So we have 3.4 million dots, and we're still, it's using CPU. Okay, it's not really using GPU for CUDA at all. Let's see, do we have, well, a copy, I guess, is going to be some stuff where you're going to see some load. Using some GPU memory, but not lots. And at least it's using some actual RAM now. I promise my seat is not that filthy. Actually, let me check. Nope, my seat is definitely not that filthy. So that is a lighting artifact from the scanner. So this is what it actually looks like. That's what it actually looks like. And that stuff up here is from the interior lighting being a different light color. So definitely not that nasty. Promise, this car isn't that old even. It's not even 2 years. Come on, process. 60%. What are you using? Some memory, some CPU, some GPU. Oh, one core, okay. So I guess I should have grabbed a faster CPU, but then again, like single core performance, there's not that much of a difference in systems these days. Okay. I mean, that's all right. That's all right. So the stuff that's scanned did scan nicely. So okay, this is actually pretty cool. You can see the stitching on the leather. This is pretty nice, but there's just so much duplicate garbage data. So all this stuff here, this is just an extra floating layer. This right here, this is also another floating layer where the alignment just skipped. Let's see the steering wheel. Yeah, so back here I tried to fill in somehow. And it looks like it got the center section of the wheel pretty well. And it got all the buttons and stuff, but over here, it's a whole lot of nothing. I guess if I really wanted to, I could hit this with a scan spray. I do have some stuff that is self-subliminating, but I don't know I don't know if that's going to damage any of the surfaces of my car. And I do need to return this thing this year, and I don't want to return it with the plastic all gone. Right. So air vent didn't catch much of that. I guess if you really wanted to, if you really put some effort into it and really made sure you didn't get any garbage data like this stuff, you could get a pretty nice scan, at least for size reference and for fitting other stuff to it. 3D Musketeers, yeah, the ASAP guys, they sent me a whole bunch of their scan spray once. But looking at the ingredients of the self-subliminating one, I don't really want to use that right now. So yeah, cool. It actually got a surprising amount of the glossy yellow paint. I guess it did have a bit of reference on the edges, on the inside and outside edges, for what's there. And there should be, I think it says Peugeot in here, but it doesn't. Okay, nice bubble car. All right, looks pretty cool from this angle, but Of course, any side that I didn't catch isn't great, and it is not really good with dark areas. So what do we get as a as sort of a preliminary conclusion on the scanner? Does a couple of jobs pretty well, I guess. So the scan that we did of the Mannequin was pretty good. It's pretty decent. Not very high resolution though. But it was a scan that you could use. Oh, that angle is pretty low. It was a scan that you could use for like a 3D print of a person. Totally fine. The car scan, lots of garbage data, so you really need to be careful on the alignment, I guess, with tracking markers. But then you have to use, I mean, on an interior, like how many markers would you use on that? Every 8 centimeters? That's a couple hundred markers easily. But I guess that could work. On the scene with the fire extinguisher, the problem is like obscure angles, and I think that's the same problem with this scan. Anything that is a bit of a obtuse, obscure, a bit of a sharp angle, just completely doesn't scan. And this might be due to the fact that you have the 3 cameras, and kind of each one needs to see the object, I guess, or at least the 2 monochrome cameras. I assume they kind of need to see your object at the same time to get that stereo effect and to make sense of your physical world. And that kind of doesn't get into close corners or into tight corners all that well. I think that is really the biggest hindrance in scanning performance here. But otherwise, when it does work, it works really well. Like, I mean, the steering wheel, if we ignore everything else, the steering wheel looks kind of cool. And again, the fact that you get the stitching on the seat, that shows up, it's pretty nice. Like, yeah. I guess it's going to depend on what you really want to use, and what you want to use a scan like this in the end. Okay, what time is it? 7:30. That, I think, is going to be it for me for this one. You guys saw what it does, how well it does. You guys are seeing the unedited performance. There you go. Thank you for watching. Okay, 3D Musketeers, I guess I can answer that. The software doesn't cost anything, as far as I know. The software is just something you get with the scanner. You do have to use, let me pull this out, if I can pull it out. You do have to use a license dongle with the scanner, or with the software. So without this dongle, I assume it's just not going to boot up, it's not going to start. But that use and the software runs. There is no software download yet. Supposedly at some point you will be able to download the software from their website. So the 3.1 version they sent to me via email. But otherwise it's, yeah, you're not going to be able to use it with any other scanner, but with the iReal scanners or with the Scantech scanners, I guess it's just included. So, all right. There we go. That's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and have a nice weekend. Yeah, it is Friday. Enjoy. Bye.